All right, what's up, everybody? Reese here, CXO Works, CXO cult leader, if you will. I guess I'll start putting that crown on. It's kind of a weird one to say out loud, but let me preface that by saying cult is short for culture. It is not the bad cults that we see on the Netflix documentaries. So, super excited today. My guys, all the way out in the desert of Phoenix, Arizona. So happy to have them on. I've spent, probably been a couple of years around you guys at this point now and watched you not just kind of come into the space that you're in, but you're really pioneering a new way to look at it. I would say these are the disruptors in their industry. So I'm very excited to have them on. If you haven't seen our YouTube videos before, it is very rapid fire. So I'm going to give these guys a couple of minutes to introduce themselves, frame everything up, and then we're going to jump right into it through the customer journey, the awareness, consideration, service, awareness, consideration, purchase, service, loyalty, how they're doing what they're doing. I'm going to ask them some questions because I know a little bit behind the curtains. I won't peek it back too far for them, but ask them some certain elements and how it's helped them actually grow their business. So without further ado, we're going to put our fancy clock on here. You guys ready?
We're
Two
ready.
minutes. Hit it.
Reese, thanks for having us. I'm Travis. This is Brandon. We're the co-founders of Home Ladder. We're the best property management and real estate investment firm in the Phoenix area, and we're just here to serve. We love real estate and we love building great teams. So
All about that rabid pursuit of customer delight.
Love it. So tell me, how did you guys get into property management?
Well, your story starts before mine, Travis.
uh, I'm old, so I started doing this in 2004 when I was, or actually 2002 when I was a sophomore in college. Started doing student rentals and fell in love with it. Been doing it ever since.
I started off in 2008 doing property management, working for a multifamily apartment complex, and transitioned to a few different property management companies before finally starting my own a few years ago. I
Awesome.
quickly fell in love with it too.
I think I should put an asterisk here. They are not related, but
No.
they're like stepbrothers. If you've ever seen the movie, that is these two right here in a nutshell. So not related. They just both turned 30 though, so they're not really that old. So don't let them fool you. Why are y'all so obsessed with the customer experience? And I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but why are y'all so obsessed with that?
Honestly, the easiest way to grow is through referrals, right? So if we provide an outstanding service, people talk about that to their friends and family members, and organically we're getting more leads, signing up more doors. So yeah, it's the easiest way to grow.
Awesome. Yeah, and y'all focus primarily like on small to mid-size investors in the area. I would probably say a blend of both local and out-of-state investors is what you'll have in your portfolio. But I think
Mhm.
as we've worked together, we've also kind of looked at the owner's not our only customer; it's the resident that's living in these properties too. So I know we're going to kind of touch on that as we go through it. So without like I'm gonna get cart ahead of the horse a little bit. Let's jump right into the awareness because y'all do some very unique ways to in the space to make people aware of your brand. So let's talk about awareness. Like first of all, what's your belief on how people should find out about you?
We just believe that anywhere you look, you should see us. Like that's our goal is if you're on the internet, hopefully Home Ladder is going to pop up on your feed somewhere, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Like we try and have a presence everywhere. And then we try and provide content that is going to be interesting to people. Like if you're on Instagram, you want to be entertained. So we're going to try and provide some entertainment. If you're on LinkedIn, we go a little bit more business style, but we still throw in some entertainment. So we custom tailor our messaging for the platform that we're on, but we want to be seen everywhere.
So these two guys, and they're so modest. I tee them up, and they still can't even come out and like toot their own horn. If you've never checked out their YouTube or any of their social media channels, the blend is crazy. They can go from straight professional to putting on a mullet and cut off shirts and be chaos and disorder like that. So we talked a lot about this word when we were working together in my past career called edutainment. Tell me what edutainment means to you and how an audience or a customer actually perceives that.
Yeah, being able to simultaneously educate somebody while entertaining them, right? Just like the word indicates. So, chaos and disorders are a great example of that. Travis and I play the nightmare tenants that you would never want to place in your property. And the goal is to just educate owners on, hey, these are a lot of the red flags that landlords commonly fall for because they seem great on paper, like, yeah, let's trade. I'll fix up your property. You give me a break on the rent. This is going to be a win-win situation for both of us. So we are bringing some humor and trying to shed light to some of these red flags and make owners aware, like, hey, you probably should hire an expert before you hand over the keys to your biggest asset to somebody you've never even run a background check on.
Yeah. And look, every time it drops, it's like I think I've like had that customer behavior now. When I see it, I want to go see what y'all are saying next. And I think that kind of plays into the consistency factor, because to get these guys on camera, I had to totally change my schedule, just FYI, because they have a very regimented routine of filming. So talk to me about the consistency that actually plays into all of this too, because you're doing the chaos disorder, but you're also doing a lot of market research, because on your LinkedIn, it's like, here's what's going on in Phoenix. Like you've got kind of all the economic movements going in there too. So tell me about how you guys just stay so strict to that routine of filming to make sure it continually goes out.
Well, as business owners, our schedule is very packed. Like we're doing a lot of things, we're juggling a lot of different responsibilities. And we find that filming is an easy one to skip, like because it's hard and it makes us both nervous in the morning when we know there's filming. So if it's not on the calendar, we're gonna find a way to get out of it. So we're
Yeah.
very diligent about making sure that it has a calendar block and that we stick to it. And if it's on there, then we're gonna sit down and we're gonna film, no matter how lame it might turn out. We're gonna give it a shot at least. So yeah.
There's
Would
been
you
plenty of
go ahead, Brandon?
I was just saying, like, yeah, we keep it consistent, right? We film at the exact same time and day every single week, and we know that that's on the calendar. So it's like if we're just waiting to see what inspires us that week, right? Like, what are we inspired to talk about? Let's film around that, and yeah, so we've got the whole week to kind of develop our scripts.
So on the awareness part, like when you're putting all of that out, do you guys like put intentional focus on actually tracking all of the metrics behind it? Or is it more the intentional focus on just making sure we're getting it out there so that it is landing in front of the right eyeballs?
Yeah, we're not so focused on the metrics. We're not geeking out on that. We just believe that if we're delivering value, it's going to make the phone ring eventually. So that's our belief is what are real estate investors interested in hearing about, and how can we deliver that knowledge to them?
Cool. The other thing on awareness, and this is huge for me, like a personal belief, is charity work. And I know you guys heard that from me over and over and over. And now you have like really grabbed the bull by the horns on that. Talk about some of the things that are non-business related that you do to give back to the very community that you guys live and work in.
Yeah, we're big believers in giving back to our community here. So once a quarter, at least, our entire team gets out and does some sort of volunteering on a local basis. So Midwest Food Bank is a great example. They're just down the road from us. They provide food for other shelters throughout the valley. So we've gone in there and packed soap and rice and made meal kits. Feed My Starving Children, another great one. So basically, we try to get the team more involved in it. So we pass the responsibility around. So each quarter, a new team member is responsible for coordinating the next quarter's event and getting the whole team together to go out and do that. That way, they've got more skin in the game and they're committed and they get a say on where we spend our time.
I think right there is what, when we talk about cult and culture, that is you guys creating not only a customer experience culture, but you're creating a culture for your employees too. Because at the end of the day, if your employees are happy and they're bought into the movement behind Home Ladder, guess what? Your customers are going to feel that as well. So if you're watching this, that was probably the biggest takeaway already that you're going to hear. It's like, get people involved. Don't just direct and here's what we're doing. Give them some ownership of it too. And then watch your team get behind the entire movement of the company. So love that. Super passionate about the charity work. I think it's a great involvement. I love that you guys actually post that on social media too, so that others can see you guys setting the example to give back to that community. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the consideration process, because I know you guys are essentially the sales marketing people. Like when the phone rings and people are considering doing business with you, with Home Ladder, they're going to talk to you. I've seen, like, looking at your reviews, no flex, they're almost at 500 reviews. But they always are talking about Brandon and Travis as well as your other team members. So again, you can feel that culture. So when somebody's considering working with Home Ladder and they're either looking at your website, we'll even touch on the reviews, or they're making that phone call into you, what are they feeling from Home Ladder? What's your belief that you want to portray to a potential owner that's considering working with you?
The two main things that we talk about are personalized service. We have a local team who's their boots on the ground. They're not dealing with a phone tree, call center, remote team members. They've got a local licensed professional that's their boots on the ground, and our ability to be proactive, anticipate their questions and answer them. The other big one is maintenance, right? Like a lot of property management companies have turned maintenance into a profit center. For us, we believe very much that the best service we can provide to our owners is saving them money on maintenance. So we leverage the relationships we've cultivated over 20 years in the valley to save them money on maintenance. So those are the main things that we spend our time talking about. But outside of that, like again, when they call, they're going to get us on the phone. That's intentional. We want to make sure that they know that they're talking to us and that they always have our contact information. So as they go down to work with our team, our property managers, they can let us know if there's ever an issue. And like, my phone hardly ever rings.
Yeah. And Reese, the consideration part of the customer journey is so easy for us for two reasons. One, they've already read our reviews. To your point, we have almost 500 reviews and a 5-star rating on Google. Like that's unheard of in property management. So that's one thing. We automatically go into these phone calls with a great reputation. And then the second thing is the social media. So they've already seen us on video multiple times. It's in their inbox. They're seeing the feed when they log into any of their social media profiles. So they know who they're talking to when they call us, and they know our perspective. So that just opens the door for us and makes the sales process so much easier.
I always the language I always put around that is like all your awareness platform and how it comes into consideration is almost you're communicating with them before speaking. So now that you've put all that out there consistently, and again, if you're not tracking the analytics, that maybe they just saw it in passing, maybe they're not even watching it, but they saw your face. Then they get on a phone call with you. You've already got a level of trust that's been built in. It's not just a brand new conversation where it's not a first date, so to say. You've already kind of warmed up and you've met them at a couple of friends' events and they know what you're all about. And the conversation flows so it doesn't become a sales pitch anymore. It's literally a trust conversation. Back to the reviews. How or why did y'all put so much emphasis on reviews? Because it is an investment, right? Because most people think of marketing and ad spend as I'm going to give you $1 and you're going to give me 2 back in sales. Getting reviews and building a reputation is not the same game. Why did y'all decide to go that route versus being a mega ad spend company?
We knew as a young company, we didn't have the budget to do a bunch of ads, and we also knew that Google reviews are the fastest way to show up in the map pack in the search results when you search. So that's the first place I go when I'm a consumer and I'm shopping for services out there. Is I go to Google, type in what I'm looking for, and then I sort by their rating, right? And then I read the reviews and see the details of what they're good at and what they're bad at. So that's why we prioritized it.
And you were a big reason for that, right, Reese? Like we were kind of humming along slowly, getting some reviews here and there. It was you that really lit the fire under us. Like this is your easiest way to grow. And we did it. Like we quickly incentivized our team and we just made it a part of the culture. Like now our team knows to always ask for that. The second you've delivered value to a client or a customer, ask them for the review.
Yep. And like you said, all of it kind of tying in together. And if you're watching this is really what we're talking about. Like, how does the entire journey come together? It's not segmented out. So building an internal culture with your employees to get involved in the community, building an internal culture of a high level of excellence. And I know you guys shout out Google reviews and like your weekly meetings, and everybody's getting that public acknowledgement. You're compensating them without even giving them money. You're giving them the public acknowledgement. So that culture and the consideration and everything coming together internally, I think is going to be a huge driver, not only where you're at now, but I think it's really going to put you guys as not just a company, but I'm going to call it a brand that people are going to recognize. It will be a household name because of the focus on that. So it makes me incredibly proud just that you guys let me get to watch you do that. And the funny story, I'll shorten it, is they did get a significant client come in earlier this year, and I let them celebrate for about 60, 90 seconds, whoo, got a new client. And then I said, well, guess what, guys? You've got this many residents now that don't know who you are. The owner knows who you are. They decided to work with you. But now you've got all these residents that you've got to go make the same impact on. And I can still remember y'all's faces. Y'all kind of set back and y'all are like, oh, hadn't thought about that yet. But then it was like light switch. Y'all went right out there, focused on the resident after that. And then it just keeps compounding. The culture keeps growing and that flywheel gets stronger and stronger. All right. So on purchase now, let's go to the purchase side of the customer journey. They've considered working with you. They talked to Brandon and Travis. They've seen all of the elements about your brand. They've decided I'm going to sign on the dotted line. Now, my belief, and I know you guys are somewhat on the same page, that onboarding and purchase is not about just transferring documents. It is transferring trust, because now that they've decided to work with you, you guys have to hand it off and deliver on what you promised. And in your world, you're going to over deliver on what you promised. So tell me about that. I've decided to work with you. I'm an owner of a property. What happens at purchase where y'all elevate that customer experience?
Well, I'd say one, it starts with our management agreement. So we went back, and our management agreement when we first started was, I don't know, 20 pages, like the standard property management agreement, a bunch of industry jargon, legal terms, and we just realized over time that it was completely unnecessary. So Travis and I sat down and we knocked that thing down to 6 pages. Plain language, no industry jargon. Anybody who's never been a landlord before can read that agreement and understand exactly what our commitments are to them and vice versa. So that's the big easy thing. We don't have any cancellation fees in there. You're not locked into any time frame. So owners feel confident. Like, why not give it a shot? It's not going to cost me anything. So that's the big part of it. And then from there, like you mentioned, Travis and I are the ones handling initial sales calls, right? But then it's our team of property managers that actually goes to the property, gets it turned, gets it on the market, rents it, all that. So we like to do is have a video call, or in person if we can, preferably, where we sit down and meet with the owner and the property manager to do a handoff, so that first of all, we can explain their story with the property manager present. Like, hey, Reese, this is everything that you've told me to date. These are your goals with your property, both short and long term. These are the challenges you've encountered with previous management companies and tenants. Is there anything that I missed? And making sure that the property manager is crystal clear on everything that we've discovered to date. And then from there, the big part is transferring the authority from us to the property manager. So, okay, now the property manager is going to lead the call, and they're going to ask you everything that they need to know in order to get your property rented with some great tenants as quickly as possible.
The final step of that trust building too is when we actually secure that tenant, we follow up with a final, well, not a final, but a follow-up phone call and email to the owner and say, hey, we placed a great resident. Now we'd like to go through the owner's statement with you together so that you fully understand all of the nuances. We also show them the portal. We walk them through the portal and show them all the features and options available to them through there. So that's the final step. Well, actually, the final step is then to finally ask for the review. So we've placed a tenant in their home. We've shown them how the portal works. We've given them their first paycheck out of their investment property, and then we ask for the review.
So what y'all have done, I just want to put some clarity around this, is Travis and Brandon have literally looked at the customer journey. We're going to take this little segment from consideration to purchase, and they've looked at all of the friction points. And they didn't just look at it and say, hey, these are okay, we can get by with okay. They broke those down from what the customer wanted. They didn't want a 20-page agreement. They wanted something simplified, because agreements scare people. Like, all those big words, like, you could be the greatest trust building person and have the greatest service or product ever, but you throw down all this legal stuff and they're going to walk away. Cancellation fees. Oh my gosh, I could scream this across the entire country. Why should someone have to pay because you sucked at your job? That's the way I look at it. Like, if you're doing your job and you are delivering above and beyond what they've asked for, they're not going to cancel. So stop making them do that, and be so confident in what you're doing that if somebody cancels, you own that mistake. So I know there's property management companies across the country that they believe that you should have this cancellation fee. Well, they're not going to grow in the future. And I hate to tell them that bluntly, but that's what's going to happen. But then that call, because a sales call it could have been a week that y'all been talking to this person. It could have been a whole year or two that they've been working through the sales process, and all this information you know about them. They've trusted you. And I've seen way too many companies that they sign that dotted line and it's like, hey, thanks for signing up with Home Ladder. Here's your property manager. And then it's gone. It's like they vanish. They disappear. You're just, that's a friction point. You're going to have a lack of trust immediately. So to slowly hand that off and give them the confidence, and again, going back to those little micro steps of identifying the customer journey, you recognize friction points. So paying them, like that first owner statement, when I was in the PM game, like that was a heavy friction point because they didn't understand it. It's the first time they've ever seen it. So walk them through that proactively versus reactively. They're on a high. Then you come in and say, hey, since you're on a high, I would love for you to share that story with the millions of Google's users around the world. And then you get that next phone call and it just keeps going. Whew, nerding out a little bit here. Sorry, for all the YouTube viewers. I just love this stuff when it's so intentionally designed. All right. So now they're working with us. They're so happy with Home Ladder. They're coming in. But now we've got the service part, which is the longest segment in the customer journey because there's so much that happens. I mean, you could have a client with you for 10, 20 years. So much happens, so many cycles, so many ups and downs. So from your guys' perspective and the way that you're designing Home Ladder, how does customer experience in the service part of the customer journey, how do y'all view that?
We're focused on NOI. The owner's NOI is the most important thing to us, right? How much money are they making off of this property? If they're losing money, that's your number one indicator of churn. They're gonna leave you. They're gonna sell. They're gonna stop being a landlord. So how do we make sure that the NOI is as good as it can be? We focus on the resident experience. That's the next thing that is our absolute focus. So preventative maintenance comes into that. So owners love that you do inspections, right? Residents hate that you do inspections. They feel like it's an invasion of their privacy. Like, why is this property manager coming over to my house, wanting to look in all the bedrooms, opening closet doors, looking under the sink for things? We flipped the script on that. It is no longer an inspection. We are coming over there to deliver value to the resident in the form of preventative maintenance. So we're going to come out there, we're going to flush your water tank. We're going to come out and clean your coils on your AC unit. We're going to bring you a fresh filter when we come out. We're going to check all your smoke detectors to make sure that they have fresh new batteries in them and that they are within compliance. We're going to get under every kitchen sink and make sure there's no drips that turn into floods. So that's how we deliver value to the resident while we also conduct a quick inspection so that the owner feels at ease too. So
Yep.
That has allowed us to achieve a 72% renewal rate, which ultimately leads to longer owner retention times and happier owners.
Yep. Oh my gosh. And you guys have heard me say this. In property management, the owner is not the paying customer. The resident is the paying customer. So when you actually make the resident happy, the resident pays the property management company, the resident pays the owner. So like that focus is huge. And inside the cult, I think it was last week, we had another property management company, to your guys' point, like residents hate inspections and it's an invasion. They went in and started giving gifts to these residents and like Amazon gift cards for quality inspections. And these residents were like, oh my gosh, like they were mind blown. They're like, I'll renew $200 more next year. No problem. You guys are phenomenal. You gave me an Amazon gift card. So it's that focus on really what matters. And I've seen just too many companies that are PM companies specifically that focus so much on the owner, they forget about the resident altogether. And then the resident becomes happy and everything else kind of falls downhill behind that. So your approach, love it. Again, nerding out for a few minutes. Let me be. But that focus on a resident can actually make an NOI impact for an owner immediately. And I want to go back to maintenance. You know, like you said, some companies put a profit driver, it's like its own business inside of the business around the maintenance. Arguably, maintenance is the number one friction point within property management because it's unexpected cost. All right. It's not something that you can project. So what are you guys doing on the maintenance part of it that really focused on the experience to make sure that you're removing that friction point?
Yeah, like Travis said, NOI is most important to owners, and the best way that you can maximize their NOI is to keep tenants in the home as long as possible. The best way you can keep tenants in the home as long as possible is to quickly resolve their maintenance issues when they arise, right? So getting a real person on the phone that they can explain to what's going on, quickly getting a professional out to the home to address the issue. So like a lot of management companies, like I said, have done in-house maintenance. And when you do that, you have to start questioning, like, am I going to put my company's profits ahead or my owner's best interest? So for us, we don't even want to have that conversation. I don't want to be sitting in a position of like, am I going to have to charge more for this? Rather, we've got these great relationships with local mom and pop type vendors. Why not leverage those relationships? So it's essentially a third party marketplace, right? Where they're competing against each other on pricing, on quality of service, right? And that's who we use to get out to these properties and perform maintenance for our tenants. And so it's all about that rapid response, getting them out there quickly and making sure it's resolved. And then paying those vendors. That's a big part of it for us. We pay vendors every single week. So if you get an invoice to us by Friday, by that following Wednesday, you're going to be paid out. That's how we keep them loyal to us, prioritizing our work. Just it's that flywheel, right? Everybody stays happy.
Well, and what's crazy is like that doesn't take an entire company shift. Every company takes in money from an owner and then pays a vendor. Some extend it out. What's a good way to provide a good experience? Be faster. Simple. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just spin that damn thing a little bit faster, and you're going to provide a better experience. Customer calls in, or a resident calls in, they've got an issue. How fast can I solve it? I don't have to make this whole fancy process around it. Let me just speed it up because people want speed. That's experience. So, God dang, we're gonna have to do this again sometime. All right, last piece, loyalty, because it's huge. And I know, but right before we got on here, you don't have to give any numbers or anything, but I would arguably say churn in your business is really not even a concern. So I know we've talked about all these elements that go in, but also what are some other things or your beliefs on how you create loyalty, not only for your owners, but residents and vendors and employees? Like, how do you tie all that together?
I'll start with residents. So residents, the loyalty and the trust earning starts when they apply, right? So one of our key metrics that we track is application processing speed. We aim to make sure that we process applications within 48 hours so that we can get a yes or no answer to every applicant. And that just sets them off on the right foot, right? We're quick to respond. We're quick to give you an answer. Yes or no. Are you going to be able to live here? Then we continue that process with the move-in orientation. So on move-in day, we meet them at the house in person. We don't want to be a faceless app that just collects rent from them every month. We want to be a human person that cares about them and the home that they're living in. So we walk through the home together. We show them all the main water shut off, the electric panel, the GFI. We answer any question that they have. Like, we make them feel comfortable in their new home and make sure that they're ready to start living there. So that's how we earn trust with the residents from day one. You want to talk about owners?
Yeah, I would just go a little bit further on that. We previously have done, not with HomeLiner, but other companies where it is just here's a lockbox code, go move into your home. Inevitably, there ends up being friction from that. They walk the property and they nitpick it, right? They find these little things that they didn't need to have resolved. Whereas if you're with them face to face, you can walk through and you can explain like what's cosmetic, what actually needs to be repaired. So you just make them feel a lot more comfortable in the beginning. But yeah, like Travis said, we take that's the resident side. For the owners, I think a big part of that is Travis and I still being accessible to them. So, like I said, we sign them up, but then our team is handling the ongoing day-to-day management. We are in their face at least once a month with our market updates. So we film again with our routine cadence here. We like to inform owners what's going on with the market on the sales side, the rental side. So they're hearing from us at least once a month, letting them know what's going on with their investments. And it's helpful for us to disseminate this information to our team so they're knowledgeable about what's going on with the market and they can speak to their owners. And then at the end of the year, we also offer what we call portfolio blueprint review, where Travis and I will sit down with them personally and review the overall performance of their portfolio. Let's talk about your short and long-term goals. How can we better cater our strategies to help you meet those goals? Is there anything anyway? Just how's things going with our team? Is there anything that we can do better? Are you looking to do a 1031 exchange and buy another property? Should we up your game in the portfolio? Or can we save you money on insurance? So just really getting under the hood of their portfolio and making sure that we're delivering valuable services to them.
So here's the word that y'all haven't said it, but this is what happened. You guys embrace feedback. Like, you want feedback versus running from feedback. And your customers, your employees, your residents, owners, vendors, like, they're going to give it to you, and you guys are getting that in real time versus waiting on that 1-star review. And again, I'm going to go back to that. There's a reason you're a 5-star rated. It's because you're proactively asking before somebody has to go public and say, Brandon, Travis, like, did not like this moment in time. I'm going to go tell the world about it. You guys are saying, hey, tell me, you can trust me. You see me everywhere. I'm available. I'm open. Tell me where we could be better. And that relentless pursuit of ridiculous delight just keeps going. So you don't have to worry about the negative stuff. You're in constant forward motion because you're asking for feedback immediately. So I don't think you guys maybe even realize that you're doing that so fast, but feedback is huge. And what you're doing with it quickly is changing the way people are viewing property management in Phoenix. I'm just going to say that out loud.
Good.
So, and one more thing on loyalty, like, we keep kind of coming back, but you'll see as this whole conversation has progressed, everything kind of links back in some way. It's not segmented out, and that it flows very, very nicely. A lot of fluidity through it so that you don't feel like you're just being departmentalized. And I think property management as a whole has gotten very, that's become a new norm, is to departmentalize everything versus it all being,
Silos.
yes. And I think working together, Again, we work for the customer. That is why we are in business. We are not in business to do what we want and everybody adapt to us. We adapt to the customer. It's the Steve Jobs mentality. So what you guys are doing is just beyond impressive, I think, in the space, but that mindset. And I will just say, like, this is going on YouTube and it's going to go on every social media channel. If you're in property management and you're not thinking this way, you're not even in the same league as these types of players. There's only a handful of these companies across the country, and when they're executing like this, they're not just building a business that can pay, you know, their paycheck every month. They're building a brand that's going to be something that's going to be household known, and that is how you should be looking at your entire customer journey. So ooh, I'm like, got chill bumps and it's hot in here.
Gave me the chills.
Woo! Love this stuff. But this is the future business. Like I'm going to stand by that. It's a movement. It's what we're doing inside of CX Cult. So if I'm an owner, Brandon Travis, I'm interested. Maybe I don't even have a property and I want to come to Phoenix, Arizona. I want to buy property or I have a property there. How does somebody find you if they want to reach out and have a conversation with you?
Two easy ways. One, they can call us. They get a live person on the phone. We don't have a phone tree or an answering bot. So 602-898-3662. You can talk to us live. You can also go to our website, homeladder.com.
Wow. Phone tree doesn't exist. Again, mind blowing because everybody, that's a huge focus. Like when you start a business and your phone tree, like press 1 to do this, but it's a friction point. How long do I have to wait to speak to somebody? And you just said, F it. We're not even going to have that stage. So very, very cool. So I appreciate you guys coming on. If you want to jump into the CX Cult and see what kind of other things are going on with Brandon and Travis, you can check us out on school, cxoworks.com. You can also contact us there. But these guys are the reason I am doing what I'm doing to bring people like this together, because they're not just doing business. They're literally making a movement. And that is what our customers want. It's how we're going to build our businesses. So guys, I appreciate you as always. And if you're looking to connect with them, come join the CX Cult. They're there all the time. Talk to you soon. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Reese.